Hi everybody, I'm here today with little Sophie and she's got her butterfly dress on so she can take part in Butterfly Friday. It's a pretty little lemon dress and it's got blue butterflies and it's got blue and yellow butterflies and it's got yellow butterflies. It's very, very pretty and it's got smocking across the top in blue and yellow. And I've put her little new shoes on that I've bought for her. I know they don't go with it, but I wanted to see what they look like on her. And I think they look really cute. They've got lots of nice little flowers on them, haven't they, Sophie? And I think she looks lovely in this little butterfly dress. We like butterflies, don't we? Yes, we do. We love butterflies. And yeah, to take part in Butterfly Friday. And I'm so pleased you enjoyed seeing Joseph yesterday. He's a really shy little boy, isn't he, Sophie? Sophie has to look after him because he is a shy little boy. Not like Sophie, who's quite outgoing, aren't you, darling? Yeah, she is. And I'm pleased that all the lovely comments I got yesterday as well. That was so brilliant. And really pleased that you enjoyed seeing him and telling you my story about my book. And yeah, it was great, and I really appreciate all your comments. And today we decided to do something a little bit different. We've been wanting to take my husband out for Father's Day, but of course that was waylaid because of his heart attack. But we took him out to our favourite tea shop today by the river, and I've put a little short video up for you so you can see what it's like. It's a lovely little place, very oldie worldy. It's really nice and the food is delicious. And my son's put some music on it for you, which he wrote and composed himself. And yeah, I mean, I had a cheddar cheese and apple toasted sandwich. And I had with a lovely side salad with grapes in and everything. So that was really nice, wasn't it, Sophie? Mummy enjoyed that. And also I had some French vanilla ice cream. And it had a lovely fan-shaped wafer in it and a strawberry and a piece of chocolate, dark chocolate in the shape of a teapot, which was really nice. Really enjoyed that. And I bought a bit of the wafer home for my little dog Chloe. She absolutely loved it. So like a little miniature doggy bag as such. So that was really brilliant. And we enjoyed that. It was very busy in there today. And the river was quite busy as well. There was a lot of boats going up and down and lots of swans and ducklings and everything. So took a little bit of everything for you to see. And I hope you enjoy that. And yeah, so that was great. It was really good. We enjoyed it, and it's nice to go out for a change. And like I said, we've been wanting to do it for ages, but we wanted to wait until my husband was fit enough to go. And he's feeling fine now, so he's getting there. And I wanted to thank you all for your lovely comments about my book. I was overwhelmed with it, and especially that you wanted to hear some more of it. So I decided that I would read a little bit more of it to you today, if that's okay. And if you remember, let me take my glasses off because I can't read with my glasses on. Rebecca's taken her partner John and his boss and his wife to dinner in a seafood restaurant. And she's heard this laugh from a group of men in the corner, and it's kind of made her heart sing because it sounded familiar. When are you and Rebecca coming down to stay with us again? Barbara asked. We really loved having you, and the kids keep asking after their Uncle John. John had been a real hit with their children, Amy 7, Robert 5 and Ben, who was 3. Rebecca always felt awkward with children. It wasn't that she didn't like them, she just wasn't on the same wavelength somehow. She put this down to her status as an only child. John came from a family of 4 and seemed at ease with everyone. I'll leave John to answer that one. I must go and powder my nose. She smiled sweetly at John, whose answering grimace had Eric and Barbara in fits of laughter. Rebecca made her way easily between the crowded tables, her slim body swaying, unconsciously provocative. Pushing the swing door into the ladies' room, Rebecca was pleasantly surprised to see the colour scheme from the main dining room continued here. Azure, gold and silver were everywhere. Even the taps were little gold fish that spouted the water delicately through open mouths. She wondered idly who decorated the place. It all looked very professional. Checking her reflection in the mirror, she noted that her makeup was still perfect. True, her green eyes looked slightly tired, but then she'd been working very hard lately and still had a deadline to meet, she reminded herself. Tonight had been a last-minute thing and she could have done without it really, but John's career was important to her too, and she would help him as much as she could. The fact that she had more than enough to finish at home had never entered her mind when John had asked her to entertain with him this evening. After all, he would certainly almost do the same for her. She smiled at herself in the mirror. She was very lucky to have John. Her career in advertising was fascinating and rewarding, and it was wonderful that he worked in the same field and understood the demands it made on her. Yes, she was lucky. If only she could find a slogan for her new campaign. Dog food was always an awkward subject, but then tomorrow was another day, and perhaps she'd have a brainwave. Turning her head slightly, she could see that her auburn hair was still in its neat French pleat. Thank goodness for triple mirrors, she thought. Renewing her lipstick only took a second, and then she felt ready to face the world again. Laughter boomed out again as she entered the restaurant. This time that special laugh drew her eyes like a magnet to the corner of the room. Their eyes met and locked. A feeling of elation ran through her like quicksilver as his eyes devoured her. Emotions she'd long thought forgotten resurfaced, warming her inside and out. He moved towards her, and even though her brain signalled danger, her heart was overwhelmed with the joy of seeing him again. She watched his body as he walked. She'd always loved his easy sexual grace. She drank deeply of the sight of him, suppressing her fear of the hurt this man could and had caused in her life. He was in front of her now, smiling and holding out his arms to her. Against every logical thought she surrendered herself to him. The feeling of coming home was so overpowering, her brain seemed to be fighting for sanity in a tumult of madness. Pulling gently away from his embrace, she looked into his eyes, fighting for control of her senses before she made a complete fool of herself. Rebecca became aware of people openly staring at them, and the nearby conversation had stopped completely. She knew that she must take control of the situation and be as calm as possible. "Hello, Becky." His voice was deep and soft, caressing her. "Mark, what a surprise. I thought you were still in America," she gabbled, unable to stop the tremor in her voice. "I've only been back a few days, but what luck to run into you. I've often thought about you, Becky." His pet name for her hung in the air between them, bringing back memories of intimacy, an intimacy she tried hard to forget. Her legs trembled beneath her, and her heart was beating so wildly that she felt sure he could hear it. "Did the job go as well as you expected it to?" Rebecca tried to keep the conversation on neutral terms, thinking this was the safest thing to do. This would give her a chance to recapture her self-control. "The job is fine, but it's you I want to know about, Becky. How have you been?" "How have I been?" thought Rebecca. "If you had wanted to know that, you could have kept in touch with me, not left me in limbo for years, waiting and hoping." Of course she couldn't say that or any of these things in a crowded restaurant. It just wasn't the right place or time for that kind of conversation. People around them had now lost interest, and Rebecca felt the tension easing in her body a little. "Rebecca," John's voice made her jump. "I thought I'd lost you, darling. Who is this?" John put his arm around her possessively and held his hand out to Mark. "Mark Hudson." He shook John's hand firmly. "I'm afraid I've given Becky a bit of a shock." "Really? Why is that?" John asked. "Mark is an old friend, John. We used to work together. We haven't seen each other for a few years," Rebecca explained nervously. 4 years, 10 months, 2 weeks and 3 days, thought Rebecca angrily. But then, who's counting? Well, it's been nice to meet you, Mark, but we really ought to be getting back to our dinner guests. I think they're ready to order now, darling. Rebecca was very glad that the meeting had come to a close, and after polite goodbyes they made their way back to the table. What an absolute hunk, Rebecca, you naughty girl. Who is he? Barbara enthused. I used to work with him, and his name is Mark Hudson. Well, ask him over. I'd love to meet him. Behave yourself, wife, Eric grinned. People will think you're not a happily married woman. Of course I am, darling, but that doesn't mean I've got to be blind to everyone else. This caused great amusement, and after a few moments they settled down to their meal. Rebecca was grateful to Eric for containing his wife's curiosity. She had felt embarrassed and out of her depth somehow. She found the rest of the evening intolerable. She couldn't eat the delicious food or concentrate on the conversation going on around her. She felt totally removed from the proceedings, and her eyes seemed to search the room constantly for the sight of Mark, of their own accord. Rebecca didn't like to not be in control of herself. She had fought long and hard to retain her self-esteem after he'd left her. There was no way she ever wanted to be that vulnerable again, so forcing herself to listen to their guests, she muddled her way through the rest of the evening, hopefully with no sign of the inner turmoil she was feeling. Looking at John engrossed in business with Eric, she reminded herself of his goodness, his tenderness, and finally thrust Mark to the back of her mind. So there's a little bit more for you. I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. You have to let me know what you think. What did you think, Sophie? Did you think, poor lady? How awkward. Yeah, poor lady. Beautiful girl. Anyway, I better go off now and make a cup of tea and check on what the men are doing, and I'll see you again soon. So you're going to say bye-bye? Say, oh, let's use your other arm, shall we? Say, bye-bye from Sophie. And it's bye-bye from me. Love you, ladies.